Welcome to Maroon Sports Talk, your one-stop shop for all things EKU athletics. I'm Nick Speer.
I'm Caleb Wells.
And I'm Jenna Evans.
Welcome back, guys. Been a while.
It has
been a crazy semester. So Joey is not here today. He's in North Carolina for whatever reason. God knows what he's doing.
Yeah, you never know with Joey. You never know.
Maybe a Fortnite tournament or something. I don't know. What
I would like to know where my invite was then.
Yeah, maybe we'll ask him when he gets back what he was doing there. Today is gonna be a pretty quick episode. We're gonna discuss softball, baseball, and the basketball transfer portal. Discuss some people have already entered their name in the portal. Some rumors. We'll dive into that here in a little bit. But first stop, we're going to go with softball, who has a record of 22-8 on the year, 5-0 in conference play. We are 11-0 at home, so we're undefeated at home. We have a doubleheader today, 5-6 away and 6-2 neutral. Caleb, kind of give your thoughts on how the softball season has gone so far.
Yeah, I think there's a mixture of good and bad. I think the immediate thought is like you want to compare it to last season, and if you do that, then you're like, okay, like maybe we're not quite as good. But I think when you're looking at like the roster and you really like dive into it, this is a really good record for this point in the season when you look at how young the roster is. When I interviewed Coach Worthington, she talked a lot about that, where she was like, you know, there's going to be a lot of mental mistakes and stuff like that when you have a younger roster. So she was like, to have this record at this point in the season, because, you know, usually you're working out the kinks early in the season. And so, you know, she didn't explicitly say it, but she almost made it sound like they have less losses than she expected at this point in the season. But she's expecting a really strong second half as the freshmen and the sophomore players get into more of a rhythm. So, I mean, I think they're still an excellent team. I think they're one of the best, if not the best, in the ASUN. They're going to continue to get better too. And then also I think it's really important to look at the pitching staff. Last year, you kind of only saw Maddie Rattan or just a few relief pitchers. And something she talked about, she just didn't want to overpitch Maddie this year. She wanted to make sure that when they get to the ASUN tournament that Maddie's fresh and ready to go. So that's why you've seen more pitchers. Victoria Bynum, I believe is her name, has been working more in there, and she's done an excellent job. So I think you see, like, there's pros and cons, but I think overall there's a lot of good outlook to this team.
And I think, too, you mentioned Victoria Bynum. It was during the Colonel Class. I can't remember which game exactly it was, but she gave up 2 hits. It was in the last inning. Her backs were kind of against the wall, and she struck out 2 players in a row. So I think that really speaks to the depth, like you mentioned, about the pitching staff. And I think you don't really have to rely on Maddie so much. You got people like Victoria back there who can come in, handle pressure. Everyone was kind of getting nervous when that happened, when she gave it those couple of hits, but then she immediately struck out 2 in a row to end the game.
Right.
So she can kind of be your closer, come in. If Maddie's pitched a lot. And I don't think the season could have gotten off to any kind of a better start than what it did.
I agree.
With wins over Western and Georgia Tech back-to-back on the road in Atlanta, kind of in Georgia Tech's background. And then you got losses over Louisville and Tennessee, but that'll happen.
That will.
Where we are 11-0 at home, I'm really intrigued. Obviously, if you look at the schedule, you kind of see the elephant in the room with like UK coming to town April 23rd. That'll be a really big test for us. It's home in our own background. You know, there'll obviously be UK fans there, but it's at our place. So I think that'll be a great shot. If we can get that win, that'll be just kind of set the season right there and kind of speak it into one word.
Right.
So, Jenna, kind of what are your thoughts on the softball season so far, and how far do you think they can take this thing?
I mean, I think they're off to an amazing start. I got to interview Maddie Rattan for a story, and I just so enjoyed talking to her, listening to how she kind of got into softball, why she's at EKU, and kind of her success. And she was just so humble about everything. You would mention one of these big awards, one of these big recognitions she would got, and she would just go, oh, yeah, like, I got that, yeah, but kind of like almost to the point to where she was just, I don't know if she understands how great she is, because, I mean, if I was like that, I'd be like, whoa. But she was just so humble about it, and I really feel like she will be such a great leader for EKU softball as she gets older throughout the program.
Yeah, and I really think I got to see that interview within class with our news packages and stuff. That's a really niche recruiting tactic EKU has, I think, in my opinion. Kind of get y'all's thoughts on this, which is where Greg Todd talked about. I've interviewed him, and he talked about
I was gonna say Todd talks a lot about this.
Traveling and stuff. They had unique games like going to Hawaii, playing LSU and stuff like that. That's kind of a recruiting tactic he uses. And I think for softball too, with Maddie retaining the FIRE program, the criminal justice program, I think that's a thing EKU can lean on now into the future, because it seems to work. Like Alice coming from Italy,
Right.
Costner talked about it. Going to Hawaii was her favorite thing from this past season for women's basketball. So I think the thing EKU can kind of lean on recruiting wise. So. Any more thoughts on softball, Caleb? How far do you think they can take this thing, and what are your expectations for today against the doubleheader against UNA, who's pretty good, having a good season this year?
Yeah, with the doubleheader against UNA, I'm interested to see. I wonder if it'll be interesting to see whether they pitch Maddie in the first game or the second game, or both. I mean, there were times last year where she would pitch in both games in a doubleheader. I doubt they do that today, especially with Victoria playing the way she has. I'd imagine. So Victoria She pitched the last game, I think the entirety of last game, against NKU, which was a loss. So I'd imagine they open up with Maddie, and then Victoria probably pitches the second game. There is a third pitcher that's been mixed in there some too, so she might get some reps in that second game as well. I forget her name from the top of my head. So I would say I'm definitely expecting one win. Like the Colonels are really good. They're just a very good team.
Especially at home.
Yeah, especially at home. So I'd say they're for sure walking away with one win. The second one is going to be a little more up in the air, but I don't know. I trust the Colonels at home, so I'm going to say they probably walk away with both wins.
Yeah, and that final thought here, that NKU loss, it was 2-3.
Yeah, 2-3.
Victoria pitched a heck of a game.
She did.
It seems to be that when we get the offense going, we're kind of unstoppable with wins over like Purdue, Fort Wayne, Indiana State, Dayton. We scored more than 4 runs.
Right.
We can win a pitching battle. We did it against Central Arkansas. We won 2-1 in 11 innings. But then we kind of exploded that second game, winning 11-1.
Right.
And against losses against Tennessee and Louisville, we just never really got the offense going. Well, if we get the offense going, I think we can go pretty far, especially in the ASUN tournament, maybe even
that
win it.
Was like Worthington's one thing that she said, like, they still need a lot of improvement on. She said the defense is great. The pitching has been great this season. She said the hitting is where they need a little more consistency. I think I could be wrong. I need to look more deep into the stats. But at the time that I would have interviewed her, I think the only 2 players that were consistently hitting well were Rattan and Kennedy Drafton.
Yeah.
And so I think they're just looking for more players to step up and get those hits.
Yeah.
And at a consistent basis. I think that's the thing is, like, you'll have a player hit well in this game, but then they maybe not in the next game. And so I think Worthington's just looking for, like, okay, who is my consistent hitters, and how can I line them up the way that we're going to get people on base.
Yeah. Switching diamonds here, we'll move on to baseball.
Yeah.
They are 4-21 of the year. 3-3 in conference, so it's not awful.
Right.
4-8 at home, not great, but it's not terrible. 0-11 on the road, 0-2 in neutral. Just an utterly brutal non-conference schedule with 3-game stand at Mississippi, 2-game stand at Southern Alabama, UK twice, Western, Vanderbilt. The conference schedule has gone a little bit better with we had a 3-game winning streak, 2 against Bellarmine, 1 against Marshall. Had a walk-off home run the other day on ESPN Plus, winning 6-5, and then had to travel down to Vanderbilt, which is just not fair.
Just brutal.
Yeah. Another 3-game stand against Central Arkansas, and 1 at Marshall, again, playing Marshall, who we beat earlier in the year. What are your thoughts on baseball, and kind of where do you think it all went wrong?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to dissect.
Yeah, you have to dive in deep here.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the immediate thing, just from what I've watched in person, but then also just seen reflected in the stats, is the pitching has been pretty porous. I don't know if that reflects on the players or if that's a pitching coach problem, but the pitching is just not consistent. I mean, they got run ruled a lot of times in the early part of the season. I think it's getting better as we get into conference play, and so the season's definitely not down the drain. We've seen teams look rough and then get into conference play and end up being one of the better conference teams. I mean, we've seen it in basketball, we've seen it in football, like last season in football. We've seen it in soccer. So
they won that massive run last
early
season. Yeah.
Right. So the season's not down the drain. They absolutely have the ability to turn it around. But yeah, it's not looked pretty. I think the pitching's definitely got to get more consistent. Just the amount of pitchers we're seeing at this point in the season is kind of insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad when people are like in the stands, like, dude, put me out there. Like, you know, I've been to games and it's like, why are we on our 6th pitcher in the 6th inning?
Yeah.
Like, this is insane. So you're definitely looking for more consistency there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's a college baseball thing or what, but man, having to open up against Kent State at a neutral site in Alabama, it looked like we were in Alabama and Mississippi from February 14th all the way to February 23rd, almost the whole month of February, we were in 2 different states. Right. And then having to go all the way, come back here for a day, and then go all the way down to Bowling Green, and then back to Georgia in March. We spent the first 2 months, a month and a half of the season in Georgia and Alabama.
Just in the southern part of the
it was just
U.S., yeah.
Like, why? I don't know if it's a college baseball thing or what. And then having to come home and your first home game's against UK.
Yeah.
It's just, it's crazy. And then we finally got our first win on March 14th against Bellarmine 2-1.
Right.
And you talked about the pitching. I'll talk about the hitting a little bit here. It's very top heavy. We have only 2 players hitting over 300, that's amazing. 300 is a hard batting average to obtain. And then a few players hitting over 200. And then you kind of get down to the bottom here. Our average is 210 on the year hitting, which is not great, not terrible. And kind of talked about, I know you pulled up the pitching stats. You want to talk about a little bit about the pitching stats?
Yeah, I actually just closed them, so perfect timing.
Yeah.
But let me pull them back up. Yeah, no worries. Let me see here.
Yeah.
Okay. It's loading.
I will say, like, it is so hard when I would feel like if you have your starting lineup and one person's getting switched out every single time, like not keeping a consistent lineup. That would, I feel like that would throw the mentality off completely.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, you're an athlete. Kind of talk about, like, while we pull up the pitching stats here, I have it on my screen right now. How do you kind of just maintain how do you not lose a locker room, really? I mean, you hear all the time on, like, TV and national news and stuff about, like, locker rooms and, like, losing the locker room, like, kind of, like, give a mental aspect of that.
I mean, it begins with your leadership. It begins with your team captains, your coaches. You have to make sure if you're one of those people that you're keeping a positive mindset, even if the score is 0-10, 0-20, whatever it is. I mean, you have to just take each game as a new day, and each inning, each quarter, each whatever sport it is, as a new chance to start again, to start fresh and build from what you have. So, I mean, keeping that mentality, I mean, it's hard. It's definitely tough. But, I mean, I feel like with baseball, you know, you don't really have, I mean, you're in a dugout. I feel like you just have to keep the mentality of the dugout absolutely really, really positive with players coming in and out, especially when they're switching pitchers so often.
Yeah.
Like, everyone who is listed as a pitcher might as well be ready for every single game, because you have no clue. Because, I mean, there's a different guy out there every single game.
Yeah.
I mean, you have no idea who they're going to throw out there. They'll throw someone out there, and you're like, oh, I didn't even know this person was on the team.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I've seen that happen multiple times.
Yeah, against UK, they were throwing guys out there.
There was people I didn't even know existed out there. And I was like, did they just, like, pull this guy from a stands or something and throw him in a jersey?
You get real close in baseball. It's a long season. It's you're on the road constantly in the dugout. I mean, you're around the players, each other, like, every day. And it lasts from February until April.
And you have to make sure that team has a strong bond. Because if they're not going to work together as a team, they're not going to accomplish anything.
Looking at some of the pitching stats here, a few guys under 5, and then everyone else. Our average ERA is 7.99, so basically 8. So, I mean, like you said, it's pitchers every day.
Right. I was going to say that it's really hard to read the stats when there's just been so many, because like some of them will have better stats, but it's like, oh, like you haven't pitched as much as maybe this guy has. And so it's definitely hard to read.
Yeah.
I would say Nathan Lawson has been great this season.
Yeah, I think he's kind of very consistent.
Yeah, Nathan's been really good.
And he's Bradley Cook, too.
Yeah, Bradley Gagan. And then Riker Walton's had some good games in there, too.
Yeah. I just think, those have pitched the most. We have a few guys 4 guys have pitched over 20 innings. A few guys 10 to 15. Some 9, some 8. So I mean, just finding that consistency and finding that rotation. Some guys at the bottom of the list, I mean, pitch like 0.3 innings, which is just weird. I don't know if you see that often in baseball.
Right.
So maybe just kind of testing the waters, see what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at our standings here, we'll kind of move on from baseball. Talk about the basketball transfer portal.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're 4th in the gold division right now, so not at the bottom. Kind of hanging out in the middle there. I think conference play will really test and see, and then you'll obviously have higher ups talk about.
Right.
It's kind of where to go from here. And I feel like Walt's a good coach. He's a good guy. I think he kind of got a lot of new players this year. And really young. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just how it is in modern.
A lot of young players, a lot of transfers. Yeah.
That's how it is in modern college athletics.
I was going to say, the current scape of mid-major athletics is going to look like that. So it's hard to walk in as a first season coach amidst kind of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I worked at broadcasts on camera, and there's just like, when the announcers mentioned a player, it's like from junior college D2, and making that jump is just hard for any athlete, and I commend them making that jump. So we'll kind of move on from the diamond here. Hope baseball can turn around and keep it up.
Before actually we dive into basketball, I just wanted to talk about one thing real quick for an ongoing sport. So for beach volleyball, got to give beach volleyball some love. Peyton Walker became the player with the most wins in EKU history. She eclipsed 52. I think it's actually gone up now because they had another tournament since I would have interviewed her. But she got to 52 wins, which is most in EKU history. She's a senior, so that's just an amazing accomplishment. Breaking Sarah Mitchell's record, who is one of the all-time greats in beach and indoor volleyball for EKU. So that's a huge accomplishment to Peyton. So congratulations to Peyton Walker.
We'll kind of go over their schedule. I mean, if you want.
I've got it pulled up.
7-5 on the year. 3-1 at home. I mean, just EK Athletics just play good at home. I mean, it's. I mean, you always want to play better at home.
Sure.
4-2 neutral. So.
And that's really good considering they haven't played not a lot of home games.
Yep. We're about to dive into the ASUN mid-year crossover with games over
in Jacksonville. That's gonna be tough. Those Florida teams are nuts when it comes to
beach.
To beach volleyball.
14 Stetson and 16 UNF.
Yep. So that'll be difficult.
And then a lot of home games here for the ASUN North Challenge. I think we can do really well in that.
I think so too.
Yeah. So shout out to them. Hopefully they can make a run in the ASUN Beach Tournament. It's in Alabama.
Yeah, and if you look at their history, they've been getting better and better every year. Before Coach Patton was there, they had never even been ranked in anything. They hadn't really made the ASUN tournament, and they just keep going up and up. So I would just say they'll probably continue to do that.
Maybe towards the end we can bring someone on from the pod while they're on that.
That'd be awesome.
That North Challenge here in a few weeks. We can bring someone on. So have a little guest. So anything else on beach you want to talk about, or just
no, not until they play their ASUN North Challenge.
We'll come back when we come back. Our next we'll recap that and see how it goes, and we'll talk about the Florida Challenge. So moving on to the transfer portal for basketball.
Yes.
George Kimple has entered the transfer portal.
Best player for EKU.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Jenna, what are kind of your thoughts? I mean, just as an athlete, what's it like just being an NCAA athlete and with the transfer portal and stuff like that? I mean, what are your thoughts on George Kimble?
How much NIL money do you have, Jenna? Disclose it right now.
Well, considering I'm on a dance team, no. No, but it's okay.
Donate money to the dance team.
So, I mean, I feel like you just see it so much in D1 now. A player comes in, especially basketball. A player comes in, has a fire, amazing season. Boom, they're gone.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the current scape.
And you have to think about it from his standpoint. He's gonna be going. He'll go to a good school.
He'll go to a P4 probably.
Yes,
he's probably gonna be in Power 4 basketball.
He's gonna be doing good.
Yeah,
and he deserves it.
Yeah,
I mean, he had an amazing season.
Yeah.
And even though he was out for the last little bit, I mean, still, even with what he had, he absolutely lit the court up.
Yeah. I mean, I read a stat online. I don't know if this is true or not. I mean, it was from an article that I read. There's 1,000 players already in the transfer portal for just basketball. I mean, from my opinion, they have to close the portal. Keep it closed until after the tournament.
Right. You got to wait till after March Madness to open the portal. I saw where like Michigan is losing a player and like they're still playing. Like they're in the tournament and a player entered the portal and won't finish the tournament with them.
This is terrible.
And it was a player that was like getting minutes too.
Yeah.
So like
this is unreal.
And she was talking about like that's just like the way that like basketball looks right now is like if you look at like it's not just like mid-majors that are getting picked off. It's really any smaller
college,
like even your smaller Power 4 schools or like are just like losing players. I mean, they're not Power 4, but look at FAU. They made that magical run 2 seasons ago, and all 3 of their best players transferred out. Like Vlad Golden's with Michigan, who's in the Sweet 16. John L. Davis went to Arkansas, who just lost in the Sweet 16. And then the other one was Elijah Martin, who just won with Florida in the Sweet 16. So, like, you know, they had this magical run, and all 3 of their players transferred to bigger Power 5 schools or Power 4.
We've kind of seen that here at EK. I mean, AW has done a really good job trying to avoid it as best as he can.
Right.
But it seems to be that we get a stellar point guard. I mean, look at Wendell Carter.
Tayshawn Comer.
Leland Walker. I mean, Auburn, Evansville, and then to FAU kind of replaced that magical run in the Final Four. And he had visits to much bigger schools, P4 wise, and then with George Kimball, I mean, kind of got hurt towards the end of the year, but he still averaged 18, and he was top 10 in the country in steals at one point, and hit a couple good, like, dang near game winners, you can say. So,
I mean, it's really crazy looking and seeing that. Like next season, you can't look at the season before and like compare your new team to that season because it is a whole new roster.
Yeah.
I mean, each season, I feel like EKU since I've been here has had a fresh team every single year.
We had a 2 to 3 year run where we had a bunch of Michael Moran and Al's brothers going to UK.
I know.
So, but. We avoided when it all came back, made that magical CBI run, and it all came back that one, and just had that heartbreaking loss to Jacksonville.
Like, we're going to lose players. That's the scape of basketball. So I think we have to, like, you know, rather than focus on who we lose, just give props to A.W. Hamilton for keeping who he has. Like, the fact that we got Cozart to stay and buy in.
Moreno to stay.
Moreno to stay for all.
Tate Blaine coming back, and he could have entered the transfer portal too.
Right. And then, I was going to say Blanton. Like, Blanton could have left at any point. The fact that we got him for all 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Turner could go find minutes elsewhere. So could Jackson Holt. So, I think we have to focus on the positives of like who we have kept because with the scape of NIL and transfer portal in college basketball, you know, your better players are gonna try to find that money and minutes with bigger teams. So just to focus on like who we are keeping.
Yeah, I mean, this clip could turn out to be horrible, but I mean, with just some of the players that haven't entered yet on the roster, well, you can talk about Meyer Wool. I mean, he could do it in any minute now.
Sure.
Being 6th man of the year, he was a 3-star recruit out of high school. So I mean, just avoided it pretty well since then. So we'll kind of talk about kind of what are your predictions for. We'll kind of dive into the football practice starting out. We have a few minutes left with spring going on. Haven't really talked about them much, but what are your thoughts next year, the schedule for football and stuff like that?
I actually haven't even looked at the schedule, but I saw some of the transfers we brought in, and it looked good. It looked really good for EKU. We got a fairly decent name at quarterback. I don't know, I forget his actual name, but I remember he's former D1. He was at a fairly big college. I forget which one it was, and then he
Tripp.
Maybe I don't know. He's new.
There's
he's new
a quarterback
this year.
named Tripp. I don't know if.
Okay, we'll look into this. But
we'll look into this,
he was at Albany this past season, and put up put up monster numbers there, like crazy numbers. Which is, obviously that's a smaller school, but just the talent that he obviously has, considering where he used to play, then he transferred to Albany, put up some crazy numbers, and now he's here. So that's exciting to have like a really talented quarterback. I think a lot of people thought Matt maybe wasn't as athletic or talented, and he did an amazing job for us last year. So just to know that we are secure at the quarterback position, that's always a relief. And then we have some excellent wide receivers. None of the wide receivers.
Some DBs too. I mean, kind of think that could be the Mike Smith effect. You know, just kind of seing him being in the Shrine Bowl, got snubbed from the NFL Combine. Sadly.
I know.
Hopefully on some big boards, gets drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. What are you kind of looking forward to next, Jenna, for football? Kind of in the fall with spring ramping up. Do you think we can make another FCS playoff push?
I mean, I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Spring game is about a month from now.
Yeah.
We have our spring game in April. So that really will be an exciting kind of seeing a little bit of the new team getting to play around, I guess. So that will really be a telltale for how next season's going to go. And then, of course, you have all of summer to prepare. I'm sure they'll be out there every single day, but I'm ready for football.
Yeah, me too.
I was just thinking, like, it's so funny to see how, like, things change within one season. Because I remember we were having this conversation before last football season, and I had the freezing ice-cold take, aged like milk, where I was like, Walt Wells will be fired at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I love Walt Wells.
Yeah.
Walt Wells is great because
Yeah.
we just had a great season.
Yeah.
So it's good to have him back. I know I completely have flipped because I was like, yeah, he's getting fired. And now
Yeah.
we're like, no, extend this guy. He's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'll admit I was wrong there.
I mean, Joshua Carter has had an absolute monster.
Carter.
Hopefully he gets drafted too or goes somewhere.
Josh Carter needs to be drafted. He's a
Looking at our
beast.
schedule here, it doesn't look awful playing at Louisville and then coming home and playing Houston Christian.
Okay.
At Marshall, at West Georgia, and then home against Nichols. Wow.
Okay.
And then UAC. Can't say ASUN at UAC.
Right. Yeah. UAC
starts.
now.
A lot of great home games. Tarleton comes here.
Mm-hmm.
Southern Utah comes here. Abilene Christian comes here. Sad I'm
It's
graduating.
a really competitive football.
Sad I'm
conference now.
graduating and may able to come back and watch some
Yeah.
Colonel football.
Uh-huh. Do you think we have a shot at that Louisville game?
I don't. Louisville has brought in just
I know.
a stacked transfer
Louisville's transfer class is nuts.
and freshman class. I mean,
Is
wow.
their freshman class good too?
Wow, it's like top 15.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Jeff Brom he's doing some
Correct me if
amazing
I'm wrong,
things
but
for
they're.
U of L.
I've read some articles and they just look phenomenal.
Who'd they bring in at quarterback? It's a big
Can't
name.
remember his name.
I'm trying to
but
think.
We'll discuss. We'll do like a little in
Yeah, we'll
May.
have
We'll do like
to.
a football preview and kind of before the summer starts. But I think that wraps up everything for today.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get some places. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll hopefully be back next week and we'll kind of be consistent again. Kind of a crazy March was unreal here in the BEM program.
Yeah, March Madness.
Yeah. Thank
How's
you
your
guys.
brackets?
Busted.
Yeah, I was cooked. I had Clemson in my Elite Eight.
Well, too
Oh
bad.
man.
Yeah.
I had McNeese winning, and then I had them beating Purdue because I can't stand Purdue.
Okay.
So
I have a 99.8% winning streak right now.
there's no way.
I swear I do. I've only missed like 4 games.
Wow. That's unreal. Wow.
Near perfect.
Drop your brackets in the comments.
Maybe we should start talking less. Let Jenna talk more. Apparently she
Yeah,
knows more than
maybe.
us.
Yeah. Give them basketball takes. Yeah, wow. Thank you guys for joining us today. Hopefully see you guys next week. Thank you.
See you guys.